Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Unique and Different with me, Shamla. How often do we hear about brain health to take into consideration that we have to take care of our brain? Today, I have Dr. Nicholas Maraj, who is a neurologist, and I would always say my resident doctor in Unique and Different to talk about brain health in everyday life. So, good morning, Nicholas. How are you doing?
Good morning, Shamla. I am fantastic. Thank you so very much for having me here today to talk about this very, very important topic.
Sure, it's always a pleasure. So, why is brain health just as important as heart health, and why don't we talk about it enough?
I'm going to say something controversial and say that brain health is more important than heart health. Your brain, like your heart, is working 24/7, even while you sleep, but not everybody is doing what they need to do to keep it healthy. And so, what is brain health? Brain health is a state of well-being of your brain across all its domains of control: memory, concentration, mood, sleep, movement, behavior, and all the things that depend upon us having a good quality brain for those functions to be under good control.
What are some everyday habits that quietly damage our brains, and how can we avoid them?
Whew. All right, so I phrase these along specific pathways:
So,
food that we eat, the way that we sleep, movement, stress and mental health, all right? And screen time. So the brain uses about 20% of the body's energy whilst it's awake, whilst it's asleep. And you need good foods to try and keep the brain healthy and fed with the appropriate amount of energy that it would need. Oily fish such as sardines, salmon, green leafy vegetables, nuts, coconut water, turmeric, dark chocolate. There's a diet called the Mind diet, MIND, that was designed a couple of years ago, that is specifically geared at what are the types of foods we need in the quantities that we need them to maximize our brain health. So I'd encourage people to go and look that up, the Mind, MIND diet.
so that leads me to my next question. How do sleep diet and stress impact brain function? And what simple changes can we take to improve it?
So let's take sleep, right?
Mhm.
Um, Lots of people don't get the amount of sleep that's necessary. There are certain people called elite sleepers that don't need as much sleep as others, but eventually does add up to them in their long-term health applications. Most people need about 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. It's higher when you're younger and it gets less as you get older, but it's very essential for memory formation. Power naps as well are important. That's a little 20 to 30-minute nap, and those could boost creativity, boost learning. So sleep, if we don't, so lack of sleep increases the propensity to develop dementia because we're not cleaning out. So think of sleep as the natural vacuum for the brain. It cleans up all the dusty, dirty particles that we need to get rid of. Not sleeping enough causes the brain to accumulate those particles and increases the risk of dementia.
And in terms of stress, how
So
we can.
Stress and mental health, right? So chronic stress itself shrinks the brain memory center, that's the hippocampus of the brain. And chronic stress is associated with increases amount of cortisol in the body, and this cortisol can damage the brain.
Mm.
Chronic stress is really bad for a lot of other body functions, but very, very, very much damaging to the brain. Coping mechanisms for stress
Mm.
varied. Some of the simple ones are deep breathing, prayer, hobbies, talking it out, aka therapy. Therapy is something people don't like to hear, but it's probably one of the most useful parts of getting stress and mental health coped with properly.
Definitely. And I think therapy is still a taboo here locally.
Correct, quite a lot.
Mm.
One of the big other parts of brain health, movement.
Mm.
So just physical activity for 30 minutes a day
Mm.
increases blood flow to the brain, reduces the risk of dementia, and improves memory and focus. So quite important that physical exertion.
Mm. Right, and but you would obviously have to tailor it based
To
on
the
your
specific
level, right, to get
yeah.
that flow.
So some people will be walking, other people who don't have that ability could be simple things like physical gardening, using up the upper body for
Mhm.
cardiovascular health. That would be important.
Stretching and stuff like that.
You know
Yeah.
what? A lot of people also don't do enough of Shamla. They don't drink enough water.
Yeah,
The
it's
brain
true.
is about 75% water, and even slight amounts of dehydration
Mhm.
causes its functionality to decrease.
Mhm.
So get that eight, 6 to 8 glasses of water in a day.
I love water. So, and is screen time affecting our brains more than we realize, especially in children and teens?
Of course, phone addiction affects attention span. It also affects sleep because lots of people are using their phone before they go to bed at night.
Yeah.
That time of night with blue screen addiction causes significant deleterious effects on the quality of sleep that we have, our ability to fall asleep, our attention span. Worse yet, when we add it into young kids, I think Australia just banned social media for children below a certain age because
Yes,
it's been
sir.
shown to affect their mental health as well.
I think that is very good, and that should be adopted across board. What are some early signs of cognitive and neurological issues should people not ignore?
Um, One of the biggest ones would be memory trouble, and that'd be short-term memory trouble. Um, Repeating yourself to others, repeating the same questions over and over, forgetting what you had for breakfast, forgetting what you watched television last night. So on the big spectrum, double paying of bills, missing the paying of bills sometimes, inability to carry out your daily affairs. So
Mm.
those things would mark it along the concentration, cognitive side. So if any of those things are happening, or if any of your family members notice that happening, that's important. Mood changes are also big. So new onset, low mood, anxiety, depression, those are things to look out for.
And we often only realize it in seniors, right? But when somebody, I guess, in their 30s, 40s, it happened, we take it for granted, thinking that, oh, they're probably too busy, but not knowing that it's something within their brain that they need to pay attention to.
Well,
Yeah.
more than likely it is because they're too busy, because
Yeah.
busyness is a functionality of that. And most people who really have some organic problem in terms of dementia usually are the older people,
Yeah.
because that's when the brain has accumulated most of its damage. We're resilient remarkably when we're younger.
You know, it is something and just before I ask my last question,
Sure.
my physiotherapist told me is when you reach a certain age, it's either your body gives up or your brain gives up. It has to be one after the other. And I found that very interesting. So we really just how we take care of our body, we have to take care of our brain if we want longevity in life. So what are some practical piece of advice you would give viewers to start protecting their brain?
Your brain is your most valuable asset. You protect it, you challenge it, you feed it properly. It wouldn't, uh, it'll keep providing for you the way that you're supposed to provide for it. Take care of it, and it'll take care of you.
Yeah. And just before I go, in terms of alcohol, I think I mentioned this
Oh,
in
yeah, yeah,
a
yeah. We
other
forget to
interview.
hit that one, boy.
Yeah, because that is prevalent in Trinidad.
Alcohol
Sorry.
and smoking. Alcohol
Yeah.
damages brain cells, and smoking reduces blood flow to the brain. Quick fact, heavy drinkers are about 2 to 3 times more likely to develop dementia than normal non-drinkers. Lots of studies showing that no alcohol is the amount of alcohol you're supposed to have now, specifically from like a cancer research point
Mhm.
of view. And clearly from your brain, the more alcohol you drink, the less brain you have.
Well, yeah, I think oh dear, when we see others drink, they tend to change their
Indeed.
persona. Yeah, so it's affecting brain. Is there any other clothing advice you would just like to give persons in general before we go?
Eat healthy for your brain, the mind diet. Cut down on the amount of alcohol you consume. Don't smoke. If you haven't started smoking, don't start. Get physical activity in, as much physical activity in within about 30-minute time period. Keep yourself well hydrated and keep your brain healthy.
This was an incredible interview, and as always, I would like to thank you for coming and sharing your expertise with us, my viewers, as well. And thank you so much once again, and I would definitely have you back, Dr. Nicholas.
Appreciate it, Shamla. You have a lovely day. TTT, have a lovely day.
And guys, with that being said, I want to say thank you so much for tuning in to this week's segment of Unique Not Different. As I always say, be good, do good. Bye, everyone.